People with this type of OCD think that their anxiety and obsessions are the symptoms of mental illness. They tend to fear that they will not be able to get over their OCD no matter what. Some are scared of committing suicide, being overwhelmed by such feelings. Others are scared of ending up attacking someone they love. They are afraid of attacking and killing themselves as well as others. The first thing I want to make clear is that they will never do such things. It is schizophrenics who act on their imaginations. Aggressive obsession patients are the ones who think that they should never do things like that. They will never hurt anyone badly. We can be assured of that. Prohibitions create desires. When you set rules about the things that should never happen, you get to focus on those things ironically. Desires created by prohibitions make your brain imagine them continuously. In this case study, I will help you understand why you came to suppress your emotions completely. I once had a patient from a broken family. His father, who was in an affair, has beat his mother ruthlessly. Naturally, my patient took the side of the mother. His father was displeased at him. He was in great pain. Even though he wanted to be loved by his father, he couldn't help but side with his mother. In a way, he was bound to be hated by his father. At the same time, he felt that he should not want to be loved by his father. To him, it was a socially immoral thing to love or respect the person who was making his mother suffer. In the process of finding the causes and the symbols related to his OCD, a very unnatural scene of the past was discovered. One day, his father and mother had a fight again. The police came and the neighbors gathered around. My patient himself almost got badly hurt. Even though he was just an elementary school student, he was very calm and collected. He was a child back then. He was supposed to cry. However, he dealt with the situation as if nothing was happening. Even though he looked okay, he was not okay on the inside. He reacted as if he had no emotions because he couldn't cope with what he was really feeling. The neighbors told his mother and father to stop fighting for the sake of their son. My patient felt that he was doing something to stop the fight. Moreover, people complimented him for being so calm and collected. At that time, he had no choice but to hide his emotions and pretend to be okay. Even though he was extremely scared of his mother being in a seriously violent situation, he made a choice to hide his emotions and acted like nothing was happening. This is because he thought that it was the only way to protect his mother. It was the only thing he could do to end the situation he feared the most. I helped him express his emotions related to this unnatural scene. He was able to reveal worry, fear, and sadness about the possibility of his mother getting hurt. It was the emotion in deep blue color. I found that he was afraid of himself dying as well as his mother dying. He had suppressed emotions about his mother, too. He also remembered a symbolic scene that involved a knife. This was the reason why the obsession caused by his anxiety was connected to aggression. To him, a knife represented his experiences of being afraid of his mother dying as well as leaving. It symbolized the things that he was afraid of the most, the things that should never happen. I made him understand that he tried to protect his mother even though he was the one who should have been protected. I helped him realize that it is unlikely that he will face such unjust and hard-to-control situations as a grown-up. I also led him to think over and re-experience the faulty emotions and understandings he had inside his mind. By doing so, the child who has pretended to be okay finally learned to express what he was feeling. He felt liberated. He gained the power to control his symptoms. His docile and obedient mother wanted him to put up with the situation. Instead of protecting him, she depended on him. This made him completely hide his emotions and endure. He acted like he had no emotions because he had to hide the extreme fear he was feeling. Psychological issues in close relationships such as the anxiety of being abandoned can have a major influence on people. People become anxious when they lack the competence to control the situations they are in. They feel unsafe because they feel scared and insecure in relationships. This is why they need to gain proper understanding on the symbolic situations that have made them feel that way. In most cases, they were young when they experienced such situations. They didn't have any means to control. However, this isn't true for most of them anymore. Like a lethargic elephant who grew up chained to a post, they think that they are still locked inside their anxious frame of mind. To protect themselves, they have to unchain themselves. They have to break their mold. Their obsessions are the shackles confining them. OCD patients tend to be depressed and lethargic because they cannot control or predict their obsessive symptoms. They have developed OCD by avoiding to face the problems related to competency and approval as well as the failures caused by such problems. They did so because they had impossible expectations on themselves. It is impossible for a child to save and protect his mother. This is an erroneous perfectionism. What my patient had to recognize was that he does not have to try and do so anymore. He had been feeling anxious because saving and protecting his mother had been an impossible task to fulfill from the beginning. A patient who has aggressive imagination directed toward himself, herself is likely to be feeling guilty. To talk about guilty feelings, I will now introduce you the case of a patient who has suffered from the obsession accompanied by aggressive and cruel imagination. She used to feel heartaches, burning sensations in her belly, and heaviness on her chest. She felt guilty whenever she had such obsessive symptoms. She was afraid of herself killing someone. At the same time, she blamed herself for being afraid. I was able to find the causes of her OCD, the ones related to the fear of being abandoned. In a relatively short while, she got much better. In the process of analyzing her emotions related to guiltiness, she came to an understanding. This made it possible for her to release her emotions. Below is the summary of the counseling sessions I had with her, focused on her guilty feelings. I helped her analyze the symbolic events of the past she was able to identify. Most OCD patients, including her, have hard time expressing their emotions and desires. They tend to blame themselves. Most of them end up feeling guilty. I hope the case below could be of help to you in dealing with your guilty feelings. Patient, I think I found the fragments of my guilty feelings. I have been feeling uneasy these days because all I could recall was a few key moments of the past. But I continuously tried to open my mind. One by one, I am remembering the fragments. When I was in elementary school, my father used to beat me both physically and verbally. I had to suppress my anger because I couldn't even say anything. One day, when I was hiding from him at home, my anger exploded. I made a human figure with the art supplies I had and stabbed it with the pen and the awl. You know, you see those things on TV, superstitiously cursing someone and stuff. I stabbed it nice and hard, imagining that it was my father. You know what? He told me that his whole body ached the day after. I now think that it was just his sore muscles. But as a young kid, I thought that my imagination came true. I was very shocked. Counselor, to me, it looks like the moment you began to think that your imagination can come true. Normally, negative things we imagine do not happen in real life. This is why ordinary people do not feel guilty by just thinking about negative things. However, if you start to believe that what you did to the human figure, imagining that it was your father, can come true, you will feel guilty. It is not a bad thing to think that your imagination can make bad things happen. However, the problem is that it fuels your guilty feelings. Not being able to directly tell your father that you were angry and indirectly hurting the human figure is another symbolic act connected to your OCD. It means that you couldn't deal with your emotions in a healthy way. Instead, you found a way to avoid them. It was the moment an outlet for your OCD was created. Patient, I kind of felt that he got what he deserved. I mean, for what he did to me every day. But at the same time, I felt guilty for doing such thing to my own father. Counselor, the anger you had must have been stronger than you thought it to be. The anxiety of being abandoned by your parents, the ones you have to depend on to survive, is a feeling too immense for a child to deal with. I think you were just trying to relieve it in any way possible. Guiltiness is another way various negative feelings are expressed. Human minds always try to find the reasons for the things happening. This is why we have hard time dealing with anxiety. We suffer more when we cannot find the reasons for our fear and anxiety. So, we tend to blame ourselves as the reasons. By blaming yourself, you can create the reason for your anxiety. It is the reason related to the idea that you deserve to be punished and abandoned. You made yourself a bad person to justify your father's punishment. Your guilty feelings are connected with your moral standards. It is immoral to imagine hurting your father. This is why the situation you mentioned became a symbol which evokes your sense of guiltiness. Patient, you're right. I remember another situation as well. I was idling in the living room with my brother watching TV, and my mother was boiling water in the kitchen. Our living room and kitchen were not that far away. I remember sensing a danger. I thought that my mother was about to spill the boiling water. As I felt very anxious, I asked my brother to swap places with me. Right after he did so, my mother spilt the water on him and scalded him. It wasn't a bad burn, but I remember feeling very scared. I was a young girl back then. I think I'm still feeling the guiltiness related to that situation. I could have told my brother to move away. I used to think that he got hurt because of me. Counselor, it is another situation which made you think that your imagination can come true. It also made you feel guilty. Like you did with the first situation you told me, you used your guiltiness connected to that situation to think that you deserve to be punished. Your brother shared the similarity with your father as a male family member. Because his symbolic significance was similar to the one of your father, even though it was slightly better, you made the event an opportunity to be assured about the reason why you have to feel guilty. Patient, I also remember swearing back inside my mind when my father kicked me out after scolding me. I was never loved and he was always angry. I think I finally exploded at that moment. I said inside my mind things like, "That son of a bitch does not deserve to be anyone's father." At the same time, I couldn't believe that I was saying such things. I felt like an immoral reprobate and tried to stop myself. Counselor, you felt guilty again for swearing at your father. You took a hit to your morality when this happened. Moral rules are related to taboos, they are the beliefs you should never break. When you break them, you lose faith in yourself. This incident intensified your obsession about not being able to control yourself and causing harm to your parents and the people around you. Your obsession stems from your desire to live up to moral standards or not to break taboos. It is an outlet you made to indirectly express your emotions. It manifests around the faiths you truly wish to keep. This is the reason why you will never do the things you have been obsessively thinking about. You can be assured that you will never hurt anyone. You developed your OCD because you wished not to break your moral rules. Patient, okay, but looking back, I kind of think that I did wrong, instead of being wrong. Counselor, you feel you were the wrong person in every moment you remembered. But objectively, I don't think you did anything with bad intentions. You don't have to feel guilty. Living life, everybody hurts people unintentionally. The important thing is the intentions you had when you did what you did. In the first situation, you expressed your anger caused by your father's verbal and physical abuse. You didn't even express it directly. Nobody got hurt out of your action. It was natural for you to feel angry because you had been abused by the person who was supposed to love you. The second situation was just an unlucky accident. It is okay because you didn't do it intentionally to hurt your brother. The third situation is okay too, you just said bad things inside your mind because you could not suppress your anger any longer. Instead of feeling guilty, you have to ask yourself the reason why you started to feel that way. Is it because you wanted to hide your fear of being abandoned by your parents? I think admitting that you were feeling that way was the last thing you wanted to do. It is because you didn't do anything wrong. You felt anxious because you could not find the reason why you had to feel that way. It is likely that you have invented your sense of guiltiness. It is the root of your obsessive thoughts, the reason you keep imagining yourself being violent to other people. This means that you have been hiding very intense emotions. I would like you to understand your past self who had no choice but to feel guilty. You don't have to feel such unnecessary feelings anymore. This is the truth. You will fear no more if you recognize the truth. You were not loved, but it was not because you didn't do anything. We give a baby unconditional love, even if she cannot do anything. She deserves to be loved as she is. You are too. You were qualified to be loved from the birth. Please stop feeling unnecessary guilt. Through the sessions with me, her anxiousness and obsessive symptoms got better. It was because she could relieve her emotions that have been exciting her symptoms, by remembering the exact moments that caused her to develop them. It was also because she clearly understood why she had to do so. The symbols related to suppressed emotions can be the causes of OCD as well. People tend to develop obsessive thoughts about hurting others because they cannot healthily release their anger, shame, and vengeance. Sometimes, the fear of being seen or the feeling of being suffocated manifest in the form of panic disorder. This also is the anxiety caused by failures to hide the moments they failed to achieve the desperately wanted success. Their minds will try to find the causes of the anxiety because it is a feeling very hard to endure. Their obsessive symptoms are what they found as the causes. As you can see, suppressed emotions and faulty causes give rise to troubles. This is why you have to remember that you will get hurt even more if you pretend to have no emotions or find yourself faulty causes. Your symptoms will grow worse if you do not handle the root causes of your problem. If you have wounds, you have to reveal them. The more you try to hide them, the more they will fester. Bigger pain will be created. I understand the pain you will feel when you try to reveal your wounds. When you apply medicine on your wounds, it will hurt for sure. But it is the pain you need to get better. You have to consider it as a growing pain. You have to be courageous. As you cannot do it on your own, you will have to go through it with your counselor. You have to deal with the root causes of your problem by revealing them through counseling instead of hiding. You need to gain strength to get better by making your subconscious mind recognize the truth.